As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom? It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And of course, good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the world. Good morning to all those receiving our signals through the magic of El Internet, formerly known as ARPANET, created by whom? We the people, now controlled by others, the plutocracy, something we've got to take back. Folks, we are going to have to learn to fight the paper tigers. Remember, whenever one cedes their freedom, one deserves their enslavement. Anyway, let's go to the studios, my dear brothers and sisters in the studio, Senor Jacques Van Bever and Mayana.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Morning,
Buenos
Egberto. How are
dias.
you?
I am doing fine. Jack, talk to me, my brother. Talk to me.
All right, I have a little rant this morning.
Let's hear it.
Autocracy, autocracy, autocracy. Gerrymandering congressional district is a tool conservative Republicans use to maintain autocratic rule over the people, which also maintains corporate rule over the economy. Wall Street may be doing well, but Wall Street mainly benefits the morbidly rich oligarchs who, like vampires, have their fangs sank deep in the neck of the taxpayers' accounts. The middle class is the host they want to keep alive so they can feed. The poor, the working poor, the women, the old, the disabled, the immigrant, the black, the brown, are all made to suffer the inflation and the eroding of their rights as the corporate housing investors pick their pockets by denying home ownership in favor of jacking up rental prices. The autocrats are the vampires.
Yes, they are vampires. I remember when you started using that word vampire. As Dean Baker would say, they're trying to make us all rentiers. Because again, the idea is if they keep taking their bigger slice of the pie, when the pie is not left, none of the pie is left, we all become rentiers, which is what we are currently becoming. You nailed it, Senor Jacques Van Bever. You know, today's Thursday, which means it is what day again? The day, it's Aquino Day. It's a day of the Houston Democracy Project's founder, HoustonDemocracyProject.com. HoustonDemocracyProject.com. Neil, good morning. How you doing this morning, my brother?
Oh, good morning, Egberto studio audience next door and around the globe. I'm just going to read this headline. We're going to talk local today, but I'm going to read this headline from ProPublica. RFK Jr. vowed to find the environmental causes of autism. Then he shut down research trying to do just that. Right? It's all they ever talked about was autism, and there's the reality. There's the reality.
It's true to form. The words
Yeah,
mean nothing. And,
nothing.
we always say, don't listen, look at the results. Stop listening to what these folks say. Look at the results. They talk to you about the big, beautiful bill. Look at the results. Folks, we are not just always talking negative. We're trying to make sure that you are aware. Make sure that you are aware and you actually come out and ensure that these guys don't do what they're doing to you. Like I said in the beginning, when you cede your freedom, you are guaranteeing your enslavement. And that may sound tough to many, but that's the reality when you cede your freedom. And right now, I constantly see that we're doing things. When I say we, I'm talking about those who represent us are doing things to cede our freedoms. Look, I think a whole lot. I'm not a Gavin Newsom fan, but I tell you what, I am starting to like about Gavin Newsom. I'm starting to like, again, like I said, I'm not a fan because, again, he's made some huge missteps in the way he's appeased the right, etc. And I'm not talking about talking and having an engaging conversation with the right. I'm talking about given the, as you engage folk, I engage everybody on the right. Hell, I wrote the book, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors. But in engaging the right, you don't seed what you know is moral, what you know is right. You engage them, you try to see where folks are coming from, you're civil with them, you make sure and show both your humanity, you try to appeal to one's humanity. What you don't do is you don't appease them, because once you start the appeasement, it stays forever. Cynthia Verdell, welcome aboard. She says RFK Jr. is a fraud. No one takes a word of a word from a heroin addict. Ed Galuski, welcome aboard. Cowboy Hats. Diane L. Wright Art. Rosie Samuel. Christopher Eaton. Claire Gosselin. Kim Benson, Rebecca Fraser, Cheryl Elkins, March KJ, thank you so kindly for being here. And on our other chat, we've got, of course, Lee the Bearcat from Austin, Texas, Harry Denson from Missouri City. Anyway, Neil, what's on the plate for today, my brother?
Well, along those lines of ceding your freedom, so the redistricting passed yesterday, passed the House. I guess it still has to go to the Senate. The 5 seats lost because of Trump ordered redistricting. And I am sure it is difficult and stressful and depressing to be a Texas House member. I am sure it is mentally depressing. And I approved of the quorum jump where they went to Chicago and other cities to deny the needed 100 members. But when they came back, they were asked to sign these permission slips to have free movement. But it wasn't free movement. They were asked to sign these permission slips for permission to leave the Capitol. The Democrats were, and then you were assigned a DPS state trooper who shadowed you. Now I don't know if these troopers are with him the rest of the session, or it was just about the 30-day special session that's going on now with a host of far right agenda items, including now increased punishment for quorum jumpers. They never should have signed to cede away their freedom. So you saw that Nicole Collier of Fort Worth, Tarrant County didn't. That was the woman who was locked in the chamber, literally locked in the chamber, and needed an escort to go to the bathroom. That wasn't their freedom and autonomy that they were signing away. They represent us. That was our freedom of action and autonomy that they were ceding away. Then they consented. In doing so, they consented to the DPS state trooper, one state representative. I'm sorry, I forget her name, a black woman from the Dallas area.
Collier.
No,
She's from
a
Fort Worth.
different one.
Oh,
A
okay.
different a different one. She signed the permission slip. I want to try to say Taylor was her last name, but she signed the permission slip, went jogging, and somehow got separated. And she said that the DPS trooper found her and said that she was risking arrest. Like she was trying to get away from him. They never should have accepted that DPS officer on them. And then they entered the chamber yesterday under police duress. What if they had come up with a map that lost 9 seats? If you remember, Abbott was
Yeah.
threatening that when they were on quorum jump. What if they had come in there and the topic yesterday had been putting trans people in camps? They were in there in gunpoint. So they signed a permission in exchange for their basic human rights and our rights. B, they assented to allowing a police officer to constantly be on them. And C, they entered the chamber under police duress. There's nothing that would have prevented them from saying, you can force me in at gunpoint. I can't stop that. But I'm not going in there coerced by the police. How on earth is that a free vote? They have the constitutional right to quorum jump. So I When we talk about appeasement or a Stockholm syndrome, or thinking that business as usual is going to prevail. And remember, this speaker was elected with more, as I recall, with more Democratic votes than Republican. There were two
Yes.
speaker candidates, and I'll give one example: Christina Morales, state representative, Democrat of. She represents Latino areas, North Side, and some not North Side, East Downtown type areas, and then into the Heights. In her gerrymandered district. She did not come back. I don't know where she is, but she did not come back. And there were some numbers of them who
10 of them didn't come back.
didn't come back. And she did not vote for Burrows for speaker. As I recall, a Democratic candidate was a Representative Ramos.
Right.
Um, so there is an example. There are people who did it. And of course, Collier came back. People can question that. I wasn't as upset about. I knew they were going to come back at some point. I felt they'd rallied the troops. They'd rallied California, and maybe it was of diminishing return. But I'm not nearly the only person who thinks this. So they did this. They rallied the troops. They won some favor and empathy, and then they handed a lot of it right back.
Let me tell you something, okay? And here's the deal. They represent us. And a lot of people can say, yes, but they have families, etc. I agree. They have families. But here's the thing. The families that they represent also, the people that they represent also have families. My concern is this. If you believe what's happening in this country is existential, our representatives have got to be heroes. All right? We have got to be heroes. And not only do we have to be heroes, but uh, Beto O'Rourke and other organizations supposedly were willing to invest in keeping them away, invest in their families, etc. If this is existential, I mean, there are so many who should be out there doing. If this is existential, people have to support these people. And I think in the case of these Congress people, they work. The thing is this. Are you willing to lose your seat if somehow the court turns around and does it? If this is existential, the answer should be yes.
Right.
The answer should, if I decide that I am going to jump into politics, I am going, and I claim these realities, we hold out. I interviewed Beto in New Orleans, and I asked Beto because I just knew Democrats, what is the famous thing that Democrats do? Cave, right? I said, Beto, are they, and I played that interview for all of you that are listening to me right now. I asked, hey, Beto, is it going to hang? And Beto said, I can't tell the future. I hope so. Ta-da-ta. We're trying. Ta-da-ta, ta-da-ta. But he said, holding out a little bit is not heroic. Something to that effect, he said. Holding out a little bit isn't going to do it. It is a tantamount to saying you can't be a little bit pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not. And if what many of these politicians are saying, these things are existential, then you have to act. But what I see too often now are people who are not really there for the people, but there for their own personal gain. You take a look at Mandami in New York not getting support from Schumer, or the two leaders of the Democratic Party right now, Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. And you ask yourself the question, the people have made their choice. The people said, this is who speaks to us. This is who speaks for us. And this wholly owned subsidiary of the corporatocracy refuses to endorse or endorse him. I have a story right now that I wanted to kind of cover today as well. I know you have more to say, but I'm at the point where this comes in. Listen to this, Neil. I didn't mention this one to you earlier. At Hampton's fundraiser, Cuomo predicts help from Trump is on the way. Cuomo predicts help from Trump is on the way. Purportedly progressive Cuomo. And it starts. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo told donors at a private fundraiser in the Hamptons last weekend that he believed President Trump would wade into the race for New York City mayor and help clear a path for his election, according to audio obtained by Politico. Mr. Cuomo, who is running as an independent in the general election after losing June's Democratic primary, made the comments on Saturday as he sought to convince Trump friendly donors that he was the best positioned in crowded field candidates to defeat Assemblyman Zoran Mamdani, his party's leftist nominee. Look at how the New York Tough write it. His party's leftist nominee. No, his party's progressive nominee who has the ear of the people. Continue, my brother.
Let me right, I'd seen that story. Let me say a little, maybe diverge just a little bit from on the state reps. They do have obligations, and if my father could spend a year on the Chinese North Korean border as a soldier in the Korean War, they can stay away for a few months. But I'm also wary of solutions that are centered on elected officials because I just don't have any belief
Faith.
that they're going to. We are the main act. We
Right.
are the star performer. And so let me say that the people had the option. I mean, Travis County is a tremendously Democratic area. I kept waiting for the 100,000 person demonstration. This is our rights, our representation. And a lot, I won't get into it because it's probably not even interesting enough for the air, but I would watch how these demonstrations were stage managed by the electeds and by the statewide AFL-CIO, and they were, in my view, without doubting the sincerity of the people who participated, and many people drove in from wherever
Yeah,
to
right.
participate. They're stage managed, and you will, like, there was a rally on Saturday on the Capitol grounds. I think it was Saturday,
Yes.
and it was if you follow these things, oh, this is AFL-CIO, this is
Right.
it's
Well, the
all
buses
elected
left the
speaking.
AFL-CIO here in Houston. Yeah.
It's all electeds, right? It's all electeds who are speaking. It's not centering the person who drove 400 miles. It's stage managed. They don't. The Travis County Democratic Party or the electeds. Gene Wu could stand there and say, "I need 100,000 people here today." They could call. Now they might not be
Yes.
able to wrestle them up, but they are afraid. They are afraid. I guess they're afraid of being termed a January 6th type people, but we could have shown up as people, and with what and one thing I left out, I think we need to learn from the example. We, as rank and file people who lead the fight, we are not going to sign away our freedom. We are not going to submit to a police escort. We are not going to be forced. And the other thing is with Nicole Collier, they left her behind. That's
Yes.
the other thing. That why we now know that their first impulse was to sign away their freedom. We now know that they were willing to leave Nicole Collier behind. Now, to her credit, the state representative,
Okay.
am I
Yeah,
Representative
you
Penny
blocked out for a
Morales?
while. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, State Representative Penny Morales Shaw changed her mind during all this and publicly said
Tore
that.
it
I
up.
can go with that.
Yeah.
There were 5 or 6 others, all seemed to be women, and I because there was a picture. They stayed with Collier. Some people made a show of ripping up their permission slips. I don't know, but Penny Morales Shaw seemed to undergo. We're going to give her the benefit of the doubt, and she represents Houston, the Heights, also like Morales, and then North Side, some of the Latino population. She signed a permission slip. She said, no, that was wrong. And she spent the night in the chamber with Collier. So, okay. But now we know. So, with our rights on the line and them having the example of being in the presence of these Republicans and what they're doing, that was their first impulse. And to me, what that just tells me is that it's really going to be up to me. And the elected officials are in a support role. So I agree with you. that they have this obligation to be heroes. They have this obligation, but I'm wary of any solution that centers elected officials that requires bravery.
Thank you for that correction. I think it's an important correction, and I probably should have said that differently. You're absolutely right. Those of us who've been who have been a part of a protest system since, in my case, since college, where we
Mm-hmm.
actually got results by showing strength. We got results by getting the University of Texas to divest. We got results even when we did occupy. We made sure that they hosed folks out of the parks.
Mm.
And
And just for
let
some of our younger viewers, that was divestment from the apartheid government in listeners
exactly.
in South Africa.
Hey,
Yeah,
why are you aging me, Neil? You're trying to tell folks I'm
I
an
know.
old
Me
man.
too. Me too.
Man,
Me
man.
too. Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
but
yeah.
but
I know.
folks,
I know. It's hard.
Randy, I'm coming to you in a second. But here's the thing, folks. We come from a time when it wasn't just about, hey, you put yourself out there, not to be shot like in Kent State or anything like that. Even though in Kent State, yes, they got shot. That was before my
Mm-hmm.
time, Kent State. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing about it is, the leadership, these guys are paper tigers. The one thing they fear the most, the thing they fear the most is people executing what Neil speaks about all of the time, the right the Constitution has given you to freely speak, to freely object, to freely do all these things. It is constitutional. You're not breaking the law. As I stand here
Right.
and speak at a station that's a 501c3, we ask no one to do anything that is, in
Right.
fact, illegal.
Mm-hmm.
But we also at the same time tell you, you have the power to go ahead. These people work for you. And if
Right.
they can't stand up for you after being elected, I tell you what, Neil is absolutely correct. Neil is 100% correct. It's on us. And I think, Neil, we have been speaking about this all of the times. It's we can't sit down and wait for the corporate dollar. We can't sit down and wait for a savior. Obama used to say something, and even as I have some issues with certain things
Right.
in his administration, he used to says, "We have been who we have been waiting for." And I
Right.
remember that phrase. I play with words, but I remember that phrase, and I remember eating that phrase up and say, "Yes, we have been who we have been waiting for." Let me go to Randy, and then Randy, come on in, line number one.
Neil and Edberto, I guess I'm in the choir this morning,
Talk
and
to me, Randy.
I don't know if you can hear the anger in my voice, but you guys both know me sort of, and you know that I'm not easily angered. But I am angered by the paper tigers coming back, and not. Texas, the spirit of the Alamo is not with us
Mm-hmm.
this morning, and I live over here just south of 610 and north of downtown. And I happen to have been put in the position of being the second vice president of the North Central Civic Association.
Nice.
And we have a town hall tonight at Castillo Center that
Mm-hmm.
our organization is the organization that represents this entire area where this town hall is going to be. And the town hall's coming from another direction, and we're glad to have them. But we would love to know what's going on, and if we're going to be able to speak tonight, if this is a town hall for the people of the Near North Side, or if this is a town hall where somebody's going to come in here and try to tell us what we need to do.
You have state representatives speaking.
The state representative is out of state, Christina
Christina
Morales.
Morales. Okay. She's done a great job. She's done. I have nothing but praise for Christina.
She didn't come
Right.
back, right?
Right,
And
and she did vote for Burrows for speaker.
yeah, yesterday she had a TikTok or a reel or something where she was
Yeah.
out in the park with a guy from Chicago. So I'm taking it she's still in Chicago.
Yeah.
Penny Morales also did the right thing, but no, Penny should have stayed out too. Penny was my representative.
Right.
Got gerrymandered back around. We went from Christina to Penny back to Christina, but right now
Go ahead, Randy.
I'm in Sylvia's district, but it looks like I'm going to be, I'm going to be in 7. I'm going to be in Lizzie's district, and I don't know who is going to be in this new 7 with us, and and we have to figure out what our playing field looks like, and when this playing field looks like. Because I don't think the courts are going to stop because the courts are stacked against us.
Right.
I think
the court is
we're going to be in 7.
Randy. The court is not going to stop anything. The court is going to rubber stamp whatever they do. My concern more involved what the court is going to do in California after California does the same thing, because here's the deal. Remember how Texas redistricting started. They got a mandate from the Justice Department. It's not just Trump saying, hey guys, I want 5 more seats. They actually said that the seats that are minority held were illegal seats. So that they gave them, they try to give themselves some sort of a cover against political gerrymandering. I think what they're attempting to do is to say that, that they're going to try to do the opposite in California. We'll see. But that said, I want to tie what you said, Randy. I want to tie what you said, Randy, with what Neil said. Okay? It's on us. You mentioned something very important. You've been thrown into 7. And folks, this has national implications, because the way they're arranging these districts is they're making assumptions about who is going to come out to vote. Because remember, a state like Texas does not have voter registration by party. So you have to make assumptions based on how people vote in primaries. What that means, Randy, is the following. Whatever district got redistricted, all of you in those particular districts, if you work your behinds off, because remember, the last election, and this is important messaging, folks, very important here. In the last election, 34% of the people did not vote, and it may be even higher. 34% of the people didn't vote. And most of these people that didn't vote, they classify themselves more on the progressive bent. So what these folks don't know in Houston and its vicinity, all these areas for Dallas and its vicinity, El Paso and its vicinity, Austin and its vicinity, if all of you overperform in those areas and get those people in those apartments, get those people, use the narrative of the farm. John Deere, a farmer can't fix his equipment. John Deere has to give them permission. A farmer can't plant his seed because he has to make sure and buy it from Monsanto or whatever the company that sell the seeds are. Companies that sell the seeds are. We have to wake up and do what is necessary. All these redistricting only works if you play the game that they are playing. We can actually cause this redistricting to bring in more votes. We can. Go ahead, Neil.
That is CD7 is currently held by Lizzie Fletcher. I would say now she's got real trouble. That her district already is majority minority, and now with politicians displaced and fewer opportunities, I would, if I were Lizzie Fletcher today, I would be worried. And then the other thing, though, I have heard 1 or 2 people on our side of the aisle almost be in favor of this redistricting, because it will force cross-racial coalitions that if we're going to win seats, we're not going to be able to rely on low turnout because Al Green and Sheila Jackson Lee, rest her soul, Sylvia Garcia, these are chronically low turnout districts. And if we had had great turnout in these districts, Beto O'Rourke would have defeated Ted Cruz. There's nothing, I don't want to say that there's a silver lining to this, but our Democrats are going to have to change how they operate. Because you know that in 2030, this will come to our state Senate and state House seats. They'll now be redistricting. They're also counting on Latino voters continuing to trend Republican, and based on the polls, for what that's worth, that's not necessarily what's happening. That is part of it. So this is not a done deal for the Republicans. I sound like a
Yeah.
pundit blowhard. This is not
No,
a
you're
done deal.
absolutely Randy.
So,
Randy, you want to
so
let me get Randy back in real quick before
yeah.
we let Randy go. Randy, anything else you want to add real quickly?
Right. Let me tell you guys, last night I was in a room in North Houston on Parker Road. We had a new office open up for LULAC and for the Justice League by Johnny Mata. And Johnny Mata, they had the Hispanic coalitions there, but they also had Dr. James Dixon, and they had
Bishop Dixon, the black
community
leader.
They had Judge Robinson's son.
Yes.
And of course, I was there, and they look at me, and I don't know what I am, but I got blue eyes, so I may be Bossk, I don't know, but
I think you're human, man. That's what I think you are. You may be human, Randy.
I hang with the LULAC people and with my people in this neighborhood, and this neighborhood needs to be represented by people that look like the people and act like the people that live over here.
Well, look, Randy, thank you for your call, my brother. Let's go ahead and
Thank
get
you.
Tag into the conversation. Come on in, Tag.
Morning, Egberto. I just wanted to say real quickly, wasn't that long ago the devil came down to Georgia and asked for almost 12,000 votes.
Yeah, and they denied him, yes.
And they shut him down. His own party shut him down. And now the devil's come to Texas, and he's picked up the seats. And it's time for people to recognize that there's a way to stop the devil from doing what he wants to do. So we've got to get around and take care of business here. I was thinking, I said to Egberto the other day, everybody ought to get a Trump 2028 hat and start a conversation. But even better than that, if people would take a simple postcard and send it to the White House saying, we're voting blue in 2026 and 2028, and put the pressure on the devil, let him know that he cannot just go from state to state and cause trouble like him and his buddy Putin, and stand up, because there's more Democrats out there than Republicans, and we just got to flex our muscle. So
Well,
I'm
look,
not going to battle on.
Before you go, Tag, I was at a rally, a protest on last Saturday. And it's interesting because, we have great protesters out there with great signs. People do their research, etc. And this guy
And you
had
were
a
in
sign.
Kingwood.
I was in Kingwood, yeah. Right, Kingwood, a red area. We got 70 people out on Saturday. And the sign said it gave the number of Democrats based on how people vote in primaries, etc. And it turned out that there are more people that are Democrats in Texas than there are Republicans. Of course, there's a large contingent of independents as well. So the idea being that if you give people a reason to come out, and I do think that I want to build on what Neil had to say. We don't want to depend on these elected, because we can see it's they are not necessarily willing to go out there and fight for the people they represent. They're not willing to make the sacrifices for the people they represent. So therefore, and when you elect them, you're electing somebody purportedly who will make the sacrifice for you, right? So here is the thing. if the grassroots, if whether it be from the activists and bloggers like Neil, who's out there on the field, what we do at Politics Done Right and Egberto Off the Record, what we do at all these and with the myriad of organizations, Indivisible, Cindy Hendrickson and Indivisibles all over. If those guys are supported and when they put a call out, you're there, you will actually make the change. I tell you something that was very endearing on Saturday, Tag and Neil and our studio. What was so endearing is in my very red locale, the amount of people of every persuasion passing in Cadillacs, in passing in broken down Fords, passing in electric cars, passing in cars smoking, with their thumbs up. Very few fingers, very few any of that. People are seeing it. The question is, how do you get them to engage at the time they engage? How do you make them realize that you really matter? To make that sacrifice and go out there and throw that vote. Go out there first of all and register. Go out there and make sure over and over that you remain registered, because that's the other thing they're going to do. They're going to try to find a way to corrupt the database with all of you that are
They
registered
sure are.
and then give you a provisional ballot that won't be counted. Even though if for some reason you get a provisional ballot, fill it out, because that is a part of the fight as well. But you have got to engage. Ceding your freedom is succumbing to enslavement. All right, thank you, Tag. Anything real quick?
Yeah, maybe we could get Jack to play that Charlie Daniels song. And I love the line in it says, Johnny, rosin up your bow.
All right, Tag. Thank you very much, my brother. All right, let's go to our correspondent here from KPFT, Richard. Richard from the People's News. Richard, what you got to report, brother?
Well, there's a lot to report, but I don't know with Neil, your guest. I heard him last week attacking the different leaders. I don't know where he came from or where he goes about knowing about the politicians that's in our community and how that works. The thing is, people that are elected in our district and in our community, especially in the Black community, have been working in that community for a long time. All the people that come out, and they have a network. Sheila Jackson had an excellent network getting people out. Also, Congressman Al Green, who was Judge Al Green for years on end. He worked to get the bill on the community. And all these people come from the community. They grew up in the community, and they know it. When people from outside, like Neil, talks about
brother. Neil is my guest, and let me just say one thing, Richard. Neil is calling out the numbers, and the truth of the matter is, let's be fair. The truth of the matter is, these districts are not voting their population. They are not voting their population, Richard. We are reporters. Neil, hold 1 second. Neil, I'm gonna come back to you, Richard. I promise. But let's be clear here. Let's be very, very clear. The numbers are being reported. And the truth of the matter is, more engagement can be made in these districts. There is a cancer in our entire country, and that is districts that are believed to be safe. These politicians are flushed with cash in their coffers, and they don't invest it in policy, or not in policy, in locally to get those people out. That's a fact. So continue. Because let me tell you how I know that. Let me tell you how I know that, sir. I can tell you how you asked me how do I know that? Because I know institutions in these communities who, if given monies, would go out there and get the bodies. That's how I know that. Continue, sir.
I know that because I've seen where they go out and get the old people to go out to vote. They get young people involved. They go to the high schools and they go to the colleges.
Sir, the numbers are there, brother. The numbers are absolute, sir. The numbers are absolute. Let's be factual. The numbers are absolute.
The numbers that people that go out and vote. Yeah, that's a different thing. Black people and Latinos They only go out for the big elections, for the presidential election. They come out in full force. But our local elections, they don't. We know that. But what I'm talking about is getting the people knowing about it. And they do a good job of that.
All right. Thank you,
That's
Richard.
Well, I was speaking specifically,
so
so I appreciate the call. I appreciate the call. What I've been speaking about, it's always the same thing, to my recollection. It's turnout, and whether it be, and folks represent everyone. So whether it's Anise Parker, Mayor Turner, or Sheila Jackson Lee as candidates for mayor, for example, representing all Houstonians, there's a reliance on low municipal turnout, and it is true across also Houston City Council districts. My focus always when I say this is it's always been voter turnout. I have not critiqued who is seeing whom in a community, but it's important to realize that all elected officials represent varied. I mean, this is the most diverse community in the United States, and in terms of turnout, not solely Black, not solely Latino, and the same cynicism exists among white representatives, white Democrats as well. You can't tell me in strongly Republican Appalachian districts that the same cynicism of not fully engaging voters in terms of turnout, in part because of fear that you'll get a primary, because our elected see a Bernie Sanders or an AOC under every rock. Turnout.
Well, let me just add. The thing about it is, Brother Richard is my colleague. Love Brother Richard to death, but I want
Yeah.
folks to stop looking at things from the perspective of, I, I always talk about studying the numbers, studying the numbers. If the numbers say one thing, if Brother Richard just said, well, we know that Black and Latino voters only come out for main elections. We also know that if that is the behavior of anybody, I don't care who you are, I don't care your race or whatever, if that is your behavior and that behavior gets us a Donald Trump, or that behavior gets us the kind of things that happen here in Texas, then we have to be able to talk about that behavior and
Mm-hmm.
talk about what it gives us. Because what it gives us is a skewed Texas legislature that we are unable to work under. What it does is it gives us a skewed set of districts. We have to be honest. If we're going to win elections,
Mm-hmm.
proportional or commensurate with the values of the people, commensurate with the values of the people. Most Americans are progressive, but that is not what our representation looks like. Everybody has to participate. Neil, we filled up. Got to go to Moses. Moses, I'm going to limit this to kind of like 1 minute or so. Come on in, Moses.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
There's a saying the old people would say, every day the calabash go to the water, one day it will break. This breach in Texas and throughout the country, especially in Texas, it is rising into a high wall and it will burst. It is not every day that the people will remain ignorant, because they're beginning to feel the pain. What is happening in the legislature now is as if the people are being raped through their representatives. This is rapist. This is a rapist. You are raping the rights of the people, and it will rise. And as Obama said, as you said, we are the people we are waiting for. Go forward, America. Go forward, Texas. The battle behind your back belongs to God. And there will be victory. Amen.
Thank you, sis. Thank you, sis. You have a wonderful day. Donald, come on in. Number 3.
Okay. Egberto, I don't think you know Huey, because you're talking about these people like they're not Houstonians. Houstonians are the greatest people in the world. And if you're from Texas, We don't listen to nobody, and we don't vote. That's how we had Kathy Whitmire. We had the other lady out on your program, mind slipping, and we had a governor that was female. So California can't tell us nothing. We're not black, white, green, Asian. We're Houstonians, and we're from Texas, and nobody's going to tell us what to do. And we'll cut our nose off to spite our face. But Trump is not coming in and picking 5 people to go in. They're redistricting because of all the influx of all the people we've had come in from California, New York, and everywhere else. We've got the population. We're picking up 5 more seats, correct?
They think so. I personally don't think it's going to happen, but go ahead, brother.
But Trump's not selecting those people. We're going to vote on them, correct?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for saying that,
so
but you're correct. You're correct. Absolutely. No, I think you heard what I said before.
In our state, we've got more people in our state that are coming from these other failing states, and we're trying to take criticism. I think we're doing pretty good because we've got the same thing California has. I think we just manage it a little bit better because we've got ports, we've got oil, and we've got farms. I think we just do a little bit better job. So
okay, whoa. Donaldo. I hope that phrase that you said that we're doing better is a sarcastic phrase because the numbers don't say that. The numbers say that California is a giver state and that Texas is born on a beggar state. In other words, we take more money from the federal government than we give. When in the aggregate that is, we also have our people that are sicker, our people that have less insurance, and our people that are less educated. I hope you're being sarcastic.
Well, you've got to get a job that takes care of your family. You got to get up and go to work. And you know what? Sometimes you got to work. And that's what work is.
And you're sicker. And you're sicker, right? You agree with that? You're sicker, you die earlier, and you're less educated.
I'm not.
Okay. Donald, I'm close. Hey, I'm low on time, but we'll talk to you later, brother. All right, let's go to Johnny, line number 5.
Okay, Donald needs to reevaluate his observation about how we're doing better. The people are okay. It's the leadership that sucks. The leadership in Austin sucks. I've got one simple technical question. And before I give you that, let me give the technical question. So what's to prevent these Democratic legislators, state legislators, from not paying these so-called fines? Can the guy in the wheelchair go to the banks and take out money from their personal bank accounts?
No, not really. That would be extra. I forgot what the word is for that, but no, you can't do that.
Okay, so what I'm getting at is these Democrats, these state legislators, they could just, when they get the bill in the mail, just take their cell phone camera, their smartphone, and show them tearing it up, and then defying the guy in the wheelchair to get up out of his wheelchair and go get a real job. How about that?
You know, the thing. Go ahead.
I like Tag. Tag, you inspired me. I am going to find out the address of the Democratic Party leadership in New York State, and I'm going to send some postcards over there. I'm going to get a bunch of postcards, and I'm going to put some messages on there for my neighbors, and I'm going to put postage stamps on there myself for them to mail to the leadership of the Democratic Party in New York about Mondami and what these guys need to be doing instead of playing like Chuck Schumer, inviting them to go get a real job, update their resumes if they can't do what's the business of the people. They're not doing the business of the people. Just because they got rid of that guy, that pathological liar, who's going to get released from prison soon. You know who I'm talking about? I even forgot his name. He stole money veteran with a dog that had cancer.
Yeah. Right, I remember now. The guy, the representative from New York. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, just because they did one good thing, that doesn't give them license to not do anything else.
All right, Johnny. Thank you, brother. I got to go to Brian and Coach AJ. So let's go to Brian. Come on in, Brian. You got a minute.
Yeah. Why are the Democrats pandering to 10% of their voters and losing 80%? I don't understand this. there's going to be redistricting here in Houston, and it's going to pay off for the Republicans, and it's going to pay off badly for the Democrats. You know, what are you Democrats thinking? I mean, you have women getting beat up. You have gay people. You know, they're more special than us. And California has a state tax. Texas does not. How much?
And what? And yeah, you're right. You're right about. Okay, let me answer your. I got to go because I got to answer your questions. And the first thing is, yeah, their taxes are much higher in California because California takes care of its people. They're more educated. They're better at healthcare. They do all these things.
No, they're not.
There's not a question to that. So anyhow, Texas as well takes more money from the government than California gives. In other words, California is paying for Texas's cheap taxes. Let's remember that. We can also talk about many other issues. California's economy is much bigger than Texas's economy. Why? Because more people are there. And if you follow the laws of supply and demand, you'll say, why do more people want to live in California than live in Texas, even though Texas is quite a bit bigger? Ask yourself all those questions, and that's the answer. Coach AJ, you're on.
Yeah, two things. One, like the 18th congressional district, you know, I'm supporting Menifee for a number of reasons. But here's the thing, right? It's going to be a runoff, right?
Yeah.
And so all the other candidates, everybody has to be committed to say, you know what, just because my candidate didn't win, I'm not going to take my ball and go home, right? That's
You're correct.
You gotta vote 3 times. You gotta vote for your candidate. You gotta vote for the 2 candidates that's gonna be in the runoff, and then you gotta be committed to vote for the candidate, even if it's not your candidate or whatever, so that we beat the person that's trying to destroy us, like these MAGA folks. That's what you gotta do, and you have to bring more people in and be committed to that candidate. If you're and they got what, I don't know, 8, 20, 30?
It's a lot. It's probably 20 of them. I don't know. But here's the thing, Coach.
Correct. So that's number one. Number two, real quick. We got a 38% passing rate in education with the STAR test. So you can't tell me that Texas doesn't have low standards in education.
Look, Brian is simply wrong. I mean, the red states are terrible in the way they take care of their constituents, period. The problem is many of their constituents don't know how bad it is, and they continue to vote these people that harm them in. It is our responsibility, we the people. It is also because, again, we the politicians sure has not made the argument successfully to the rank and file, that it not only to the rank and file but the people at large, that how the people in power are really taking advantage of them and taking the money to the bank. Neil, close her out for me.
Great. You know, every issue has a local angle. Find it. Every elected official takes an oath to the Constitution, and the work of freedom in the very difficult days ahead is going to be up to each of us. And the next action is when you organize it. The First Amendment is your permit, and I'm at HoustonDemocracyProject.com to check it out. I update the blog 4 or 5 times a week.
Thank you very much. I have a closing statement. That's why I'm kind of doing this a little bit early. But my brother and sister in the studio, anything that you guys want to add to the discussion? And again, I think, oh yeah, go ahead if you guys have anything you want to add, my brothers and sisters.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about when he was saying, you know, why did the Democrats come back? You know, Nicole Collier was saying that, like, they asked her, why did she come back? And she says, you know, when you're dealing with like your colleagues and a teammates, you all make a plan. And part of that plan is to come back and now to allow California and the other people to do what they need to do. Also, she was, the other people that joined her other colleagues, they were saying that they were actually surprised when they saw that she didn't sign. And they would realize later when they got home, they're like, so she didn't sign and we just like signed our rights away. We didn't even, you know, it was just, it was something that they just did, just off the back, just because they saw everybody else doing it. Like they stood on the line and everybody just signed their rights away and they didn't even do anything illegal. And that's why they came back and they were like, what are we doing? We got to join Nicole. And they started ripping up their thing and just try to, come and support and say like, we were wrong.
And you know what, great Mayana? I just see women stepping up all over, because I think those were all women that came and tore it up, weren't they?
Yes. Yes.
There you go.
Like
Women are,
3 or 4.
I mean, women are, women are the ones, I tell you, that can save the democracy, because somehow there is this camaraderie, I guess, among men where they just don't push hard as they should. Brother Jack, you got anything to say?
Yes, this is an old saying. He or she who trades liberty for security deserves neither.
There you go. Exactly right. Now, let me tell you, we are going to have to be honest with ourselves. We are, yes, Obama was right. And Neil's saying that we need to stop going back and dependent on the elected is also right. We are who we've been waiting for. We don't have the time right now to sit down and defend politicians. We don't have the time now to sit back and say we're waiting for them to do something. We don't have the time now to idolize those people. I don't care if it's Obama. I don't care if it is Schumer. I don't care who it is. We don't have the time right now to idolize any of these people. We have to do what is right, what is progressively right, because what is morally right. We have to represent our values. Find yourself your group. Find yourself an indivisible. Find yourself a group that is really wanting to move us forward, that isn't going to take the crap from the corporatocracy, that isn't going to be bought off by the apex of the world, that isn't going to cede their freedom. It is yours to maintain, and you have the power to do it. There are power in numbers collectively. We got to go out there and do it, folks. Forget about everything else. We got to go out and save your own freedom. You can get the rest of the program at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Likewise, you can write me directly, agree, disagree, at kpft@politicsdoneright.com. Love you all, and I mean that from the depths of my heart. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
It's time now for your good news for a good planet.